Hello and welcome to the United Stand. It is Sunday Night Live. I'm joined as usual by Flex and Sophie and all of you good people. We've drawn Chelsea. No, we haven't. We've drawn Spurs in the FA Cup semi-final. Chelsea in the final. That's what I think anyway. But lots and lots to talk about. So much. So fasten your seatbelts. Get involved. Give us your opinions. And let's crack on. I really don't know where to start. And I can't remember who I started with last week. So I'm going to do ladies first. Sophie, Jose Mourinho came out yesterday. You know, I am Mourinho in. I get fed up of saying this. I'm almost imprinted on my head. But he was quite publicly blasting players yesterday. One thing somebody messaged me about, they sent me an email and said, can you please ask this question? So I'm going to ask it of you. How can Jose Mourinho blast the players yesterday? He said he spent 2 days, the previous 2 days, training them on how to run between the lines, how to move the ball quickly. How can he blast the players about not following his instructions over 2 days when he maybe should have been doing it for the last 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years? What are your thoughts on that?
See, I'm a bit mixed on it. Personally, I like seeing Jose with a bit of passion. I like the fact that yes, sometimes the players do need blaming because no matter, I mean, we put out a strong team yesterday and we should have beat Brighton quite easily. But on the other hand as well, I've said this before, it almost at times seems like players don't know what their jobs are. So the players are confused what they're being asked to do. And at times I think, yeah, maybe it is mixed messages from Jose. Sometimes it looks like the players are told not to attack. Looks like we're told to sit off teams. And then like yesterday he's come out and said that he wanted the team to attack. So I think as a player as well, they're probably a bit confused, to be honest. What do you want me to do?
Well, you're a player yourself, just to add on that. I mean, I think you make a good point as well. And I've seen people in the live comments saying this. We've played a certain way, you know, obviously 4-0 FC at the start, and then God knows what we were doing up until Christmas. Some good results, then the City result. But pretty much since January, it has been this sort of grind-out results. United, conservative, as Paul Scholes would call it. Very conservative against Sevilla less than a week ago. And then he's blasting everyone yesterday for 3 days after Sevilla, but just because he spent 2 days on the training ground, telling them to effectively change the whole way about how they're going to play. As a player yourself, it's not that easy, is it, when you've spent the last 3 months playing a certain way to suddenly change your mentality, even though I think people like Martial and Mata want to play more expansive. It doesn't mean that it's so easy just to switch a switch. Or is it? I don't know.
Of course it isn't. At the end of the day, I mean, some of the players look scared to attack at the minute, to be honest. If you look at the likes of Luke Shaw yesterday, dropped at half-time. And I'm sure there's a lot of people in the back of their mind that thinking, if I take one foot out of line, Jose's going to drop me. And so they've probably got that in the back of their mind as well. They're playing with fear. And that's not the way it should be. I kind of agree with the fact that, I mean, we've said it ourselves, Mark, that Jose has got to change his style of football. He has. But it's not going to happen overnight. And at the end of the day, we've got to find the right system to suit that as well. It doesn't just happen. It's not just a switch. So for me, I'm really mixed on it. I like the fact he's showing passion, but I don't agree with blasting the players like that because they're already low on confidence, and I think we can see that. And that's not going to help at all. I
think confusion and shock is a lot what, certainly from I think the Mourinho in brigade, which I think we are. I am confused. I have to say that's about as far as I'll go. I am a little bit confused. There are mixed messages, and we'll try and work through that tonight. But you were at the game yesterday, Flex. The Mourinho did say lack of class, lack of desire, people going hiding. From a fan perspective in the ground, who do you think he was aiming that at? Or do you think it was right? Do you think there were players that showed a lack of desire, a lack of class? Because from what a lot of people who were watching it on the watch-along with me last night, you know, I thought Martial played well. Some people didn't, but what I said is he got into a fight with the Brighton player. He was forever trying to push the team up behind him. He was forever coming short to get the ball. So I don't think you can say he showed a lack of desire. Maybe not a good performance, but not a lack of desire. So, you know, my interpretation was Lingard was absolutely anonymous, but I doubt Mourinho was talking about Lingard because that's one of his favourites. So from a ground perspective, from your perspective, what did you get the interpretation of that from Mourinho, and do you think it was a fair one?
Yeah, it's a tough one because sometimes he likes to come out and deflect everything away from the players to take the pressure off them, but then when it suits him, there's other times he'll absolutely lay into them, which is what we found yesterday. In terms of answering the question about who it was aimed at, from where I was sitting in the first half, I had Luke Shaw and Martial on my flank closest to me, and I was just watching Luke Shaw, and he was just so reluctant to get into attacking spaces. all the fans around me were saying, "Why is Shaw not bombing on?" And it's like what Sophie just said. It's almost like the players have been drilled not to. But then at the same time, Mourinho then coming out and saying the players didn't want to attack, and we spent however many days in a training ground trying to work on that. So from a coaching point of view, that's Mourinho saying, "I haven't told him to do that. Therefore, we're led to believe that that was Shaw's, not his own inability to be able to do it." Martial was kind of dropping deep to get the ball rather than staying high. It's like,
but you know what, like, just to jump in, I don't want to be rude, but you said, I watched your reaction outside Old Trafford, and you said in relation to Shaw, it was almost like he was nervous, and it's that mixed messaging that Sophie's on about there. You've got a player whose natural game, and Martial's game, their natural game is to go forward. So for them not to be going forward, it's against their natural game. And you mentioned nervousness. Do you think it's in Luke Shaw? I don't want to go too forward because he's going to shout at me again for being not defensive, like Watford last year. It's like mixed messages, isn't it?
That's exactly it. Luke Shaw's confidence is non-existent at the moment, and that's a mixture of the way Mourinho's treated him. Don't get me wrong, you're at the biggest club in the world. You're not at Southampton anymore. You have got to step up, and you are going to get criticised when you're not doing things right. But there have been a few times where I think, Joe, so that was probably a bit too strong. You're just killing his confidence. He's a confidence player, and he's a player who has a body type which looks to me that he needs continuity to play. He looks like he's got sort of body type where if he doesn't play for a little bit, he does get a bit rusty. He does put an extra couple of pounds on. He looks like that player because we saw when he got a run of games in the team, right up to the point where Jose said there's not many better left backs than him, that he can play. And like Paul Scholes said, I saw some analysis, he was saying like he thinks he can still be one of the top left backs in the country, and I agree. But under Mourinho, it seems like that relationship is just not there. It hasn't ever been. He's tried, he's huffed and puffed, tried to challenge him to raise his game. He has in patches. Then he has a dip, or Mourinho has a bit of madness where he just doesn't play him. Luke Shaw's and his agent and his family are probably thinking, right, Luke, it's probably time to move on, mate. He just doesn't like you. He just doesn't trust you. And there comes a time as a player where, yes, you've got to look at yourself for your performances, but you've also got to look at the relationship you have with your manager. And he's been made an example far too many times for him to think that Jose trusts him, and that's affecting his performances.
Paul Scholes said, didn't he? He said Luke Shaw can potentially be. Well, he said, I still think Luke Shaw can be the best left back in the world, but I don't think that even that would be enough for Mourinho. There's just something there that irritates Mourinho, and it's not the first time he's done it. So yeah, we'll come back to that point in a minute. I just wanted to go back as we box that point off. I mean, there's some good comments here. Sophie says, I think Shaw for his own development should leave, and the performance was dull as a whole, says Hayden. Give Shaw a chance. And St Colombo, Mourinho can't manage his killed players' confidence and then blames the players. He's a disgrace. But you know what I am going to say in relation to that comment, that question I put to Sophie, the one that I'd been asked to ask about, Mourinho has only literally played this attacking style for 2 days. Why hasn't he done it for the last 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years? And then he's blasting players because they're confused, and because it's a whole new way of playing. He quite openly said, I wanted players to be playing the ball between the lines quick. I wanted them running in behind. Well, that's not how we've played for 3 months. We haven't played like that. So in the last 2 days, he's changed the way he wants to play, and he wasn't happy that the players didn't respond to that. I see a massive positive in that I can't be critical of, because I said on Wednesday he's got to change, and a lot of people have said he's not going to change, and I said he's got to change. So he's changed, and then some people want to have a moan at him. Look, I don't like what he did publicly to some of the players, but I do like that he said, I wanted him to get between the lines quick. I wanted them to move the ball quick. I wanted them in behind. That's what we want. So we can't really moan at him when he tells us that's what he's been doing for 2 days. But I think he's ruined that positivity by having a pop at players. Luke Shaw is, this is on the BBC. I think I saw it on the Metro, but then I saw the BBC mention it, Sophie, and they didn't quote the Metro, and the BBC are quite good. And they said that people close to Luke Shaw have revealed he's furious and he wants out of Manchester United now. He feels enough is enough, that he is the man constantly being publicly had a go at. Paul Scholes did say there was no difference between Ashley Young and Luke Shaw. Whether he took Luke Shaw off or not, there was no difference in the second half in the way either of them played, but it's Luke Shaw again. You've got people saying, well, Fellaini plays against Sevilla and is just a passenger while Matic is running his arse off. A total waste of time, and Mourinho not once has said a negative word against him, but Luke Shaw, as an average half, below average half, and again, it's an opportunity to absolutely annihilate him. Luke Shaw probably will go now, but it's what I said last night. Do you think there will be... We talk about, oh, Luke Shaw's finished at United because of Mourinho. What about the flip side of that coin? Do you think there will be some players now who think, I've had enough of this. I can't do this anymore. And if that's true about Luke Shaw, will Martial sign a new contract? Will Pogba start to get a bit annoyed? Do you think that is a danger? Because he was asked about that last night, and somebody in the live comments will remember it, but it was something along the lines of, I think they said something like, if you lose players... is that a risk? And he said, yeah, but something about that's pressure, and if they don't like the pressure, they can go. Yeah,
I think the likes of Pogba, at the end of the day, he wants to be one of the best players in the world, so he's got to cope under that pressure and earn his spot back. So Luke Shaw, however, is different. I do agree with that. It seems like he's always been publicly slated by Mourinho. It just doesn't seem to fit in. There's obviously something that maybe he doesn't train well enough, I'm not sure, but Jose doesn't like something about Luke Shaw. And it's a shame because he's obviously got that ability, and I agree with Scholes that he could be the best left-back for England. And to be honest, I wanted him to be up there competing for the World Cup squad, but it's just not going to happen for him, unfortunately. So I think for his own development, he has got to leave. There's no other option there. Pogba and Martial, I think, is a bit different. They want to be world-class players. So I think they've got to prove and they've got to earn a spot, really, at Man United. If they start to fall out with Jose Mourinho, then that's where the issue will come for Jose, because then that's showing that he's losing the dressing room. And that's where questions will obviously be asked, because the club won't want to let Pogba and Martial go.
I tell you what, this somebody just said that the dream team on a Sunday night, Flex, Sophie and Mark, obviously. But obviously the live comments, you're the assisters, you make it. But Sophie's mentioning of losing the dressing room flawlessly. We don't. This isn't scripted, but was going to be my next question to Flex. A lot of people in there saying, do you actually think Luke Shaw's a good player? I think I'd agree with what Flex said there. It's like, I don't think he played particularly well last night, but I think Luke Shaw's a player who needs 3 or 4 games. He's got to play a lot. He's obviously, a bulky lad, and I think a bit like Rooney was, and Rooney was one of the best players in the world. But if you played Rooney 1 game, then left him for 3, and then played him 1 game, he'd never be good. He needs a run of games, and I think Luke Shaw's like that. But picking up on what Sophie led in with there, Flex, you sort of touched on it again on your interview last night. Do you think that Mourinho is in danger of losing the dressing room? Because my dad supports Chelsea, and he said there are similarities to what happened at Chelsea at the end, where he's publicly having a pop at players. He even did it to Matic, who he loves, but he still did it to Matic. He loves McTominay, but he told the world that McTominay was crap last night, when I disagree with that. Is Pogba happy? Is Martial happy? Is Shaw happy? Is Shaw a loner? Or has Shaw got friends that he'll be moaning at? He doesn't seem bothered about losing the dressing room, because he's more or less asked about that, because he's Mourinho, and obviously he's got to be the manager. But I would hate that. I would hate the Manchester United players to do that. But I think it's a pertinent point. And do you think that is a danger? Because football is about ego players as well now.
Yes, it's definitely a danger. It's definitely a danger. I mean, it all depends on player mentality on an individual basis. If some players thrive off that, some players thrive off being dug out, being challenged by the manager, getting their determination questioned, their passion questioned, and some players rise to that. Other players need an arm around the shoulder, need a quiet word in the office, behind closed doors, and a completely different. So it is a mentality thing. The players have got to obviously understand that they're at Man United. They're not silly. They know the pressure that comes with that. As soon as you sign on the dotted line, whoever the manager is, there's the pressure's amplified by 100 just by being at our club. Lukaku's found that just coming from Everton, but I think what he's shown is great mental strength. He's managed to, obviously, yes, he's a Mourinho favourite and came as a Mourinho favourite, so that was always good for him, but you're seeing a really good side to his mental strength, where people have questioned him, where people have got on his back. I'm seeing him do things like, Martial potentially could have got himself sent off yesterday. He just grabbed him, moved him on. He was the last person on the pitch, clapping the fans, almost like captain material. Like, I'm not saying that he is, I'm just saying that those are the sorts of mentality traits that he's displaying. So he's someone who rises to that. Whereas people like Mkhitaryan when he was here, players like Blin, players like Darmian, obviously who are not very good in our side, and players like Luke Shaw, they're the sort of players who probably need an arm around the shoulder and a quiet chat in Jose's office to kind of get playing well, and that is it. So Mourinho will know he runs the risk of that, but will that stop him doing it? Of course not. Again, it's Mourinho's way or Mourinho's way. We know this. He won't stop. we don't know exactly, obviously, what meetings he's having. He could be challenging the players on a daily basis to always keep the expectations high, which he should. He's a Manchester United manager. But he definitely does obviously run the risk of that. We saw how wrong it went at Chelsea when he lost the dressing room and when the players weren't playing for him. We really don't want to see that here. So, yeah, to answer that question in a yes or no, the answer is yes, there is a risk of that.
Robbo MUFC, thanks for the contribution, says, if I was a player and was getting publicly criticised by the boss, I would do everything in my power to up my game. I wouldn't cry and stop performing. I think that's a great point, Robbo. But I think if you work in a place where your boss, say, is leaving somebody alone who's underperforming, i.e. Fellaini, and they constantly praise them, and then you know, believe you're performing better than them, but you're constantly not praised. If it's a fair playing field, I think, yeah, you work hard to get back. But if these players perceive it's not a fair playing field, like Flex is saying there, that's when you start to have issues. And I just want to repeat a tweet that we put out on the United Stand today as well, and it seemed to be received quite well, even though you could take it both ways. And that was the point basically was, and Flex was again alluding to it there, is that with Mourinho, as soon as you understand it's never Mourinho's fault, the more relaxed you'll become around him as Manchester United manager, because he's been like it his whole career. It's never Mourinho's fault. Like, he will never put it on him. That's the personality. It's not even a criticism. It's never his fault. Some would say, actually, he'd make a very good Liverpool manager because it's never their fault. But it's never Mourinho's fault. And that's not a criticism. You can take it as a criticism. You can take it as a positive. But once you get that into your head, you will start to see things a little bit more clearly. You may not agree with it, but he will always deflect the blame, because it's a bit like, you know, if you play Brighton, play Liverpool, and you go and beat them 3 or 4-0 and the players attack and everyone's on about, oh, how great Pogba was. Mourinho would probably rather beat Liverpool how he did, where everyone's talking about how he shut them down and Salah was put in Young's pocket, because everyone's talking about Mourinho and not about the player. And that is Mourinho. And that's why I wanted him here, because I thought he's going to make us win a title. We will remember Skype show tomorrow. There's a lot of people frustrated in the live comments. Tomorrow is your show to call in as well, but we will take some of your comments tonight. And we are going to be talking about the FA Cup draw, but there was a few key points we wanted to discuss before that. One sort of developing what you sort of threw to Flex, Sophie, about there clearly are favourites that Mourinho has. If you take his favourites, and I mean there are more than this, but he's two that he named on Friday. He absolutely loves Matic and Lukaku. And then maybe throw in, let's say, Valencia, because he said Valencia played bad yesterday, but he didn't want to sub him. So you've got Lukaku, Matic and Valencia, who are Mourinho favourites, or maybe Ashley Young. And then you've got Martial, Pogba and Shaw, who clearly aren't his favourites at the moment. Again, a lot of people were saying this on social media today. The problem is, you can't not Lukaku, you can't not Matic, and you can't not Young, really. They are working hard. But the problem is, Mourinho values their running through brick walls, whatever. But are those three going to win you a Premier League title? Or are Luke Shaw, Pogba and Martial going to win you a title? And is that potentially a problem, that Mourinho's favourites, his Fellaini's, his Lukaku's, his Matic's, do they win you a Premier League or a Champions League title? Or is it your Shaws, your Martials, your Pogba's, even your Sanchez, if he's been dropped as well? They're realistic. Surely they're the realistic the players that he's got to get playing well, no matter what's going on behind closed doors.
I completely agree with that. Martial obviously is more of a title winner. Luke Shaw is, Pogba is. But you know what? We could have Messi in our team, and if he's only going to perform in, say, 3 out of 10 games, then it's pointless having them in it. I mean, it's more about consistency, and I think that's what Jose is alluding to there. He wants players who are going to perform week in and week out. And let's face it, Martial, Pogba and definitely Luke Shaw, they're not doing that. And that's the issue. He's got to get them playing consistently well. There's no doubt in ability, of course there's not. But if you look at like Martial yesterday, I thought, you know what, he was trying things, he was taking risks. So for me, I thought Martial actually didn't do too bad. But the problem is there that he loses the ball. And a bit like Alexis Sanchez, loses the ball like more than any other player. But it's because he's taking risks. And Jose doesn't want that. He wants us to keep the ball. And I was looking at footage from the Sevilla game the other day, and the amount of times that our centre-backs passed the ball sideways to each other, it was embarrassing. Not going anywhere with it, literally just keeping it. And it's obvious that's what Jose was drilling them to do, to keep the ball. Now, for me as a United fan, I want to see people running, trying to beat a man, but we don't see that enough. So in terms of, are the Martials going to win you the league? Yes, they will. However, it's got to be done consistently, and that's the problem at the moment. They're not performing consistently enough.
No, you're right, and I think Mourinho actually was having a pop at that yesterday, saying that the defenders were passing sideways to Merchant. But I think it's great that he's moaning about that, but I also think he probably shouldn't have had a pop at the players so publicly, because it was almost a bit of a bit of an ego. Oh, I've tried to get them to play this way. But Paul Robinson came on the show yesterday, not the one from Neighbours, and he said he's taking the fans for idiots in some ways, because he's telling us what we've been wanting to hear for months, but he's only been trying it for 2 days, and then he's had a go at his players for not doing it. But come on, yeah. We're 7 months into the season, and he expects his players to just learn a whole new way of playing in 2 days. The truth is in between. You know, both manager and players have got to take responsibility, because it's a new way of playing, but it is the way we want to play.
Yeah, and I say inconsistent from the players, but you've got to look at Jose as well. I mean, he's changing the lineup week in, week out, every game. He still hasn't found the system that suits United the best. So obviously questions need to be thrown at him as well. That's not going to help our more creative players, because they're not going to get that fluidity if they're being changed every week.
No, spot on, and that's been said a few weeks in a row by a lot of people as well. You know, it was a different 11 yesterday, and Swansea in a couple of weeks will probably be a different 11, and Man City and Spurs in the semi-final. Ahmed Marda, thanks pal, he says, I don't know how will Jose lift the players' spirit for the City game after publicly labelling them less quality than City players, even less than Sevilla. I fear players will turn on him or drop the towel. I mean, yeah, Flex, that's a good point. I'm glad he mentioned Sevilla. Not a lot of people might know this, but Mourinho, you probably know this, that Mourinho said there's a lot of players basically saying that Sevilla are a very good team, saying there's a lot of Sevilla players he'd have in his United team. I personally think that was a load of nonsense, and pretty much the same Sevilla team played today away to Leganos and lost. Well, they were 2-0 down in the last minute. They lost 2-1. So it's a little bit of an exaggeration there. But on that point, City game isn't the next game. It's Swansea then City. I think a lot of people think we'll beat Swansea, and even if we beat them 3 or 4-0, it's not like we're going to get carried away for ourselves. Everyone's looking at that City game, but in some ways it can go positive. Well, give us your thoughts. It could be positive because we've got a couple of weeks off. It could be negative because a lot of players are going to go off to their international clubs and they might be moaning. You know, do you think this international break is going to be a good or a bad thing for United?
It's really hard to tell, really, because if we would have got the Sevilla result over the line that we wanted this week, the last sort of month or so, right from the Chelsea game all the way through to now, would have been absolutely perfect momentum into the last stages of the season. But that Sevilla game just knocked the stuffing out of everyone at the club. It rattled Jose, the media was up, the players, the performance against Brighton wasn't great after that when we wanted to see something. That game just kind of tipped everything on its head. So I'd probably, if we would have got that result over the line, I would have said that the international break probably came at the wrong time because we've got momentum. But with it being now, I just think everyone's dreading that City game. It's a big game. We know what's at stake in terms of obviously City becoming champions on that day, or if we drop points before that, then potentially giving them guard of honour, whichever way around you want to say it. But I don't really think it matters about the international break right now. Some players might, dare I say it, might be happy to get away for a bit. You know, the likes of Pogba, who hasn't enjoyed the best couple of months, probably sees it as a breath of fresh air. He can probably go and be around his countrymen, feel comfortable, play 90 minutes for France, swan around the pitch, put some Cruyff turns, play attacking football with a wealth of talent. It might be quite refreshing for someone like him. But then on the flip side, you look at the come down of coming back into it. Depends how Jose approaches it. Jose might see it as a way of getting people like Pogba out and about playing football again and getting confident, or he might see it as, well, you're back here now, you still got to prove yourself. I don't care that you just had 2 games, amazing games for France, put it back in again and still where we left off. So it all depends on how Jose approaches the international break and whether he thinks it's a good thing. Same with Martial, he's been up and down. Some of it Martial's got taken the chin because he hasn't been good enough. The other side of it is Jose kind of rocking the boat with the Sanchez arrival and shafting him around, just knocked his confidence. Again, Martial's in the side, he can go and have a stormer, get his confidence up, and come back and be met face to face with Jose again, who's saying, back where you left off, maybe try and get playing again. Or Jose could be like, right, great, let's go. I've seen you play internationals, you're really good. Take it from there, let's go. who knows? It's how Jose approaches it.
Yeah, definitely. I'm just having a quick look here at some of the live comments. George Cole just made me laugh because he said something about spots, and then I've just seen the comment he was talking about. It was Mr. Crisp who said leopard can't change his eyes, and it's changes spots. Please do drop the like on the like button. Lots of people watching tonight, so smash the like button. What was I going to talk about? Yes, next. I want to talk about Chelsea and Spurs and Southampton and Manchester United, all in the semi-final of the FA Cup. Turbo Warrior says, "Hi Mark, I watched Roy Keane's reaction to United losing to Sevilla. He said the manager was talking about how they won 3 major trophies last season, the Charity Shield. Now you're in trouble, embarrassed at the moment." Well, you know what? Just very quickly, if we win the FA Cup, which is what we're going to talk about now, I'm sure Mourinho will say, "Well, I've won a trophy," but I'll be very surprised if he doesn't get pulled up on that, because Van Gaal won the FA Cup and got sacked the next day. So, is the FA Cup on its own good enough? I don't know. Will we win the FA Cup? Spurs, Sophie, what's your thoughts on that draw? Spurs, Manchester United. I think it will be at Wembley.
Yeah, it'll be at Wembley. For me, it's a toughest draw. Spurs obviously used to playing at Wembley now. I think the only positive is maybe Harry Kane won't be playing. So that's one good way to look at it. But you've still got the likes of Eriksen and Son. And the midfielder, Dembele, I just think is awesome. So it's going to be a tough game, no doubt about it. But you know what? We've got to beat them at some point, whether it's in the semis or in the final, if we want to win the trophy. So I just think let's go get them. Really, I think we do need to get confidence, which is I was going to touch on the international break, and I think for the likes of Pogba, perfect time to get their confidence back, playing in an awesome France team. So I'm just hoping that he gets a bit of match fitness back and a bit of confidence back in good time for us, really. But all in all, I think it's the toughest draw. But if you want to win the trophy, you've got to beat the best team. So yeah, bring it on.
Do you think it's important how we actually go and play this game? Do you think we will see something more attacking, or do you think it won't be too fussed about that? It will just be about the result again.
I don't think it'll be more attacking. I think he's got to be careful in that midfield that we don't get overrun. So I'd expect to see us to try and crowd out in the middle, to be honest with you. And yeah, maybe play more of a counter-attacking style of football against Spurs. I don't think we'll go out all attacking.
And Flex, Spurs, you happy with that, or would you're one of them who would have preferred Southampton or even Chelsea?
Yeah, it's a difficult one because to win the honours, you've got to beat the best team. So there's no hiding. There's no point. There's a part of me that was like, would rather play Southampton. But then you're kind of putting it all in line and saying, okay, you're going to face either Chelsea or Spurs in the final, and you could lose, and that's even worse. So. To be the best, you've got to play the best. Not that we'll be the best if we win the FA Cup, but there's no real preference. Like you said, it might be a decent time to play Spurs now because Harry Kane's missing. But we saw what they did against Swansea, and I know it's against Swansea, but Eriksen's out as well at the minute. He's in great form. Dembele's in great form. Son's in great form. So it's going to be a tough game no matter what. It's the chance to put right how badly we played against them earlier on in the season, a chance of redemption, and a chance to maybe stick one on Spurs and stop them winning anything and keeping the pressure on Pochettino and what they're trying to do. But for our own thing, thinking of us, we have to win the game. And in terms of how we approach it, I don't think there'll be any real big difference. I don't think we'll be more attacking or anything like that. I think what we need to do is be more robust. We need to be a bit more harder to break down because we had no midfield in that game and we can't afford for that to happen again. It'll probably help us that the allocation's half-half. I know Spurs are technically, in inverted commas, at home, but they won't have as much support in terms of volume and crowd and stuff because obviously it will be neutral. So that could be a tipping point.
Abhijit says, I hope Spurs destroy us. Never imagined I would say this, but if that's what gets oh God, I wish I'd not read that one. If that gets Mourinho the sacked, then I'll be happy. And then he says, "Glory, glory, Man United." Sort of a contradiction there. I am happy, not for the reasons Abhijit is. I'm happy because I just feel that this season, when you look at Bristol, you look at Huddersfield, you look at Newcastle, you look at Sevilla. I didn't want Southampton because it's like it could be an embarrassment, but also we'd probably grind it out 1-0, and everyone would be going like yesterday, "Oh, we won, but it's rubbish." I just feel like bring City on, bring Spurs on, bring Arsenal on, bring Chelsea on. That's all I want to play between now and the end of the season is decent teams, because that's where we see progress. That's where we see the development of the process that Mourinho talks about. I don't want to be playing bloody Swansea or Huddersfield at home or Brighton. I do want to play Spurs. I was excited by Spurs. I wanted Spurs or Chelsea because I just think I want to, you know, if he does park the bus, then is that progress? If he attacks and we lose 4-3, that's progress for me. You know, I want to win, but I want to see United playing the right way. And I think Spurs is the toughest tie we could have got, and I'm very happy with it. I don't want us to lose. I just want us, you know, we're going to have to beat them. If we want to win it, we've got to beat them. So I'm very happy with it.
Though it will in knockout competitions, that's almost not the time of the place to kind of experiment and that. Jose, I think, will just stick to what he knows and just, even if it is a poor performance and we scrape it through, it'll be a massive win to go into the final.
He'll do what it takes to get the trophy at the end of the day.
Exactly, it is all about the result in cup competitions. I know we haven't been playing well and we want our identity back and stuff, but that's probably not the best time to try out new things. We just need to win because we're not playing great at the minute. We're up and down, so you'll take any win. Well, I would anyway.
A lot of people in the live comments saying we need Pogba back. Vladrin Hazari says we need Pogba back. We need him to play. I wouldn't read too much into Sanchez and Pogba not playing yesterday. I do think they will be a big part of the rest of the season. This international break is a very important one though. It's if you look back over previous years, the last international break of the season, the traditional season. This is where over the next 2 weeks, and I'm sure we'll be talking about it in the shows we're doing for the next 2 weeks, transfer news will start kicking in. The summer's about to come. It's the last sort of break before the summer. And it's always this one where it kicks off with De Gea. Always when he's on Spanish duty, the last one before the summer, it will start. And it will be the Spanish papers who start it. So the Turbo Warrior says, if we needed new centre-backs this summer, would you consider Alderweireld or Milan Skriniar from Inter? Their physical nature would improve the defence. I don't think we'll get anything from Spurs, and I don't think centre-backs is what we need. I think we need to sort our midfield out. But talking about the transfers, it's that sort of theme. I want to ask both of you this, and everybody at home. Luke Shaw, Paul Pogba, David De Gea and Anthony Martial. How many of those players, Sophie, do you still think will be United players next year from those four?
Tough one. I'm going to go with two. I think Pogba and Martial will stay.
You think De Gea and Shaw will go?
De Gea is questionable. I think it depends on what Jose promises to do with his process, whether we can keep him for another season and hope that we win the league and keep him next year. So De Gea is a bit of an awkward one. But Luke Shaw, I think, definitely will leave.
If De Gea went, would you blame him?
No. I definitely wouldn't blame him. At the moment, looking at United the way we're playing, he's practically keeping us in most games at the moment. Why would he want to stay, realistically? That's why it's all down to what Jose promises him and really what Jose sees happening in the future whilst he's in charge of United. I think we need to win the title to keep De Gea.
He's been a great servant, hasn't he? And how many years is it he's been here? He won the title years ago, and then every year, like you say, he's he could be playing in the country of his birth, in the city of his birth, challenging for Champions Leagues and titles, and he has been a good servant. I've got to agree. I wouldn't hold it against him if he went now. Mandy Smith says Pogba can jog on. Same question to you, Flex. Shaw, Martial, Pogba, De Gea. How many do you think of those are going to be here at United next season? And if they go, what would your thoughts be?
Yeah, just to be honest, what Soph said is pretty spot on. I agree with that. I think Luke Shaw's definitely gone. With De Gea, it's kind of down to him. He's almost earned the right to decide if he should go or stay or not. If I was him, you are looking at it like, I've been player of the season a couple of times. That says it. That speaks wonders. I've been nowhere near winning the Champions League. I am the best keeper in the world. I've proved my worth that Man United saved their bacon hundreds of times. So he would go with my blessing, not because I want him to go, but because I can understand why. Of course, I want to keep him. He's the best keeper in the world, and he's absolutely fantastic for us. Pogba and Martial, I think they will stay. To be fair, I think Pogba will definitely stay. I don't even think there'll be discussions about him leaving. That's just my opinion. I just think it hasn't gone right, and he'll be determined to try and make that work, and so will Jose. Martial, I still believe he will stay, but I can see why he's probably coming into a bit of speculation of maybe he will, maybe he won't, because of being out of the team and bad performances here, some good performances. I can see probably why there. But no, I think those two will stay 50-50 with De Gea, and I think Luke Shaw's definitely out the door.
Rodney, who I think is going to be on Tuesday night, Velvet Tones, Rodney, says Shaw and Pogba will leave. So we'll probably pick that up with Rodney on Tuesday night, because I'd be interested on Pogba, because I must admit I'd be with Flex and Sophie on that, simply because I think Pogba's in a position of no power. He's right in the middle of his contract. We probably overpaid for him. In the current market, he's probably worth 150. Who's going to pay it? So I think Pogba's stuck. Martial, I think, could go. And I think the decision will be down to him. I think United want him to sign a new contract, but it's a bit like we were talking about a while ago. If Martial has had enough of being publicly sort of had a go at, and if you're Anthony Martial, I think, as somebody said last night, if you're Anthony Martial and you're playing for United, and he obviously loves United, but you're being constantly told to track back and you're being constantly told off, and there's an opportunity for you to go and play with a more expansive, appreciative manager, you might just have had enough. And Martial's coming towards the end of his contract. Rojo was in the same boat. Rojo's signed. Martial hasn't signed yet. Martial might force a move himself. Shaw, I think, has to go for his own good. De Gea, I'm going to say De Gea will stay, because last year I said he would go, and I want to be opposite. No, I want to be right. No, I want to be... Yeah, I'm going to say he's going to go, because that means he's going to stay. No. But no, I think Bjorn said it as well, and Sophie, he's earned the right to do whatever he chooses to do, and we've only got ourselves to blame if he goes. I think if we'd won a title this year, he might have stayed, but we're nowhere near it, and he might just think, I'm going back now. So there we go. Paul Duncanson, maybe De Gea's agent is angling to get him a pay rise. We'll have to pay him good if we want him to stay. Would we be rubbish if we lost De Gea? We'll be a worse team without De Gea. He's the best goalkeeper in the world. Martial is far too inconsistent. Would happily swap him for Dybala, says Davey. Yeah. Dybala's not a winger though, is he? Pogba's lazy, says Macabre. Shaw out, Alexandro in. That's who I would go for, Chris Windle. Jose's trying to get him out for Savic, says Sadia. And Pogba and Martial are close, Ricardo Gomez. And that goes back to that losing the dressing room question. I'd love to know what the clicks are, because I suspect Pogba and Martial are close. Swap De Gea for Varane and 100 million, says Samuel Kumba. Well, I think we'll have to try and get more than money if we let De Gea go, or he wants to go. Want to move on to something a little bit different now. Lots of people watching. Please do hit that like button. We've never hit 1,000 likes whilst live on a Sunday show, so that would be great if we did it. But I want to talk about Paul Scholes. Paul Scholes. Abundantly clear to me, Sophie, that on the BT aftermatch, which was yesterday and Tuesday night, it was so obvious that Scholes got fed up with Van Gaal. I've got no inside knowledge on this, and maybe I'm stating the bloody obvious, but for me, I don't think he's doing a great job at hiding his disdain for the way United are playing at the moment, and potentially behind closed doors, I don't think he'd be too fussed if Mourinho was moved on.
You say that. I think it might have been yesterday. He was questioned on the show about Jose's 12-minute press conference and his rant. And Scholes actually turned around and said, I quite liked it because it showed a bit of passion. And so he actually did say he quite liked the fact that Jose showed a bit of passion in his press conference. So I think style of football he doesn't like. But I don't know. I think in the back of his mind he might be thinking the same. If Jose goes, who realistically are we going to get in? Yeah, he definitely didn't like Van Gaal. And of course, Scholes is United through and through. He'll want United to play attacking football. There's no doubt about that. But at the same time, I think he wants us to win things as well. And Jose does bring that winning mentality. You can't deny that. So yeah, I think he's probably a bit mixed. But he did like the fact that he showed a bit of passion in his press, as did I, to be honest.
He did, and he also said, but what he did say as well is that the public blasting of players was the wrong game. He said that game last night, they won it. It wasn't great, but he's had 2 days to work on the team. I don't think you can have a pop at the team like that after 2 days of changing your whole mentality. He should have had that pop on Tuesday, and I think he was more saying, I think he was basically saying he's had a pop at players tonight who had nothing to do with Sevilla, and he's let the Sevilla players off the hook. And I think that, I just think my bigger point really was that Mourinho looks like he's going to stay for a while. But if he was to go, would you? I know this has been spoken about a lot around the class of '92, but you know what you're going to get with them. And I've always said it's a fantasy. But if they came in, they know the club. They're not gonna go conservative. Do you think United need to start looking at that now? We've employed 3 pragmatic i.e. defensive managers in Moyes, Van Gaal and Mourinho, and no matter what anybody says, that's a board decision. Do you think that, however long Mourinho's here, do you think that realistically, looking at that option of somebody who's been at the club and understands it is important? And if so, would you trust anybody who's out there at the moment?
I think at the moment, no, you wouldn't. But you know what? Phil Neville's got a managerial job now. Giggs has obviously got a job now. Neville is obviously just on it as well. But I think maybe we should give them a few more years and let's see how they get on. I think it's a bit early to call it. Like you said, it's a fantasy. We'd all love to see it happen. Of course we would. But we need to think practically as well. I think they need more experience in terms of managing teams. Bring the future, I would absolutely love to see that. I definitely would. It's just a bit too soon at the moment, I think. I think more experience needed first, because it's a massive job. Yeah,
good political answer. I wouldn't have answered it myself because I don't really want to talk about replacements at the moment. But what I am going to do, we get called a lot of things on the United stand. Yeah, I did stitch her up. But that's my right. But actually, I'm about to take quite a big L here, and because I've always called him Fraudiola, and I think I've got to the point now. Flex is going to get one next now, but I've got to the point now where I hate to do it, but I've got to say that when it comes to Guardiola and Manchester City this season, totally worthy winners. I'm never going to talk about the open checkbook again because I think it's irrelevant. I genuinely think even if he hadn't spent all that money, they'd have won this title. I am envious of the way they play football, and all I can say is well done to them. I hate saying it, but the reality is that's not me being Mourinho out, by the way. That is just me accepting that we are in a not so nice situation at the moment. We've got no identity. And I look at Man City because they're top by a long way, and I've always known what Guardiola does. You can see the clips on YouTube and everything. When he's on the training ground, he's obsessed. He's absolutely obsessed about getting the ball back quick and playing a certain way. And he does annoy me because he's done it with money and he's done it at big clubs. And I'd love to just see him go to Arsenal and see if he can rejuvenate them and win him a title. Because if he did that, he'd probably be the best manager in the world. But identity, we've mentioned it so much. Man City have clearly got an identity. Liverpool got an identity. United haven't got an identity. Mourinho's going to be here, Flex, for at least another year, I believe. Do you think this 2 days of training that he's brought in, do you think we're now going to see him go for an identity, or do you think it's smoke and mirrors?
We've got to see him try and get an identity. Whether he will or not remains to be seen. That like what we've been talking about over the last, especially this week. I hate to keep saying the same thing, but it's like what you said. He has to change something. Something has to give, and if it doesn't, it could be the beginning of the end. And I hope it's not. I hope he can turn it round. I want him to, but with the way that we've been playing and for how long we've been doing it for, we're still without identity. We're still without a way that we can identify us of playing. It worries me. It does worry me, and I've said it for the last couple of weeks now. It does worry me. You look at other teams, the way they attack, the way they're on the front foot, home or away, they're just on the front foot, trying to score goals, trying to have creative passes, trying to make chances, trying to force the opposition back. And with us, it's just like the urgency's not there, and you can only look to the orchestrator, and that man's Mourinho and his coaching staff. And I know you spoke about Pep, and we've disagreed in the past. You've always called him Pep Fraudiola, and I don't want to sit here and give too much praise to Man City. But I always say, for people who know me from doing this, that I'm a realist, and you can't look at that man's side and say that he's not the better manager at the moment.
You just know what you're getting, don't you? You know what they're going to try and do. You know they're going to attack, and it's entertaining, and I hate it.
He's got Kyle Walker, when they're on the attack, coming out from right back into the centre of the pitch, receiving the ball. Right back, he wasn't doing that at Spurs. He's got Raheem Sterling finishing, shooting well. He's got Sane being direct, being consistent. I could go on. I can go on. A resurgent David Silva. I don't want to blow smoke up for them too much, but I'm a realist, and that's just what I see. That's what's hurt us even more this year, because we are second. We are the best of the rest, in inverted commas, which I know it might not be much in terms of we want to be first, second's not good enough, and it's not. But you know, you look at people's identities, and we just don't have it. We just don't have that right now. So something's got to change. Jose's got to change it. It's just whether he will or not. I do like the fact that he come out and said, "I'm here for the fight," like what Paul Scholes said. It was kind of refreshing, because at the beginning of that press conference, like I said in my review of the game yesterday, I was mad at the second press conference. It wasn't until I watched it back a second time and listened towards the end, I was like, to be fair, I can see what he's saying. He's saying, I don't shy away from my responsibilities. I am here and I'm not going anywhere. That's great. That's fighting talk, but we need the actions to back it up now. Otherwise, it's just going to be the same old, same old.
It's like what he said last night. A lot of people got very angry with his interview last night, but actually you can break it into two bits. The public berating of players I don't like, but the fact that he publicly said for the last 2 days he's trying to get them to play the way the fans want him to. Yes, you can say the first question that Sophie got, well, why is he not doing it for the last 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years? Spot on. But the reality is, at least he's not carried on what he's been doing for the last 2 years. For the last 2 days, he's tried to go the way that we want to, and hopefully that will continue. But the reality is, I mean, Alex Williams says there, any manager could win the title with City's squad. Of course they could, but it's football. Yeah, you're right, but you're wrong, because what Man City are doing and what Liverpool are doing is football without barriers. You've got right backs coming into the centre, like Flex says. You've got centre backs moving into the midfield. You've got midfielders going out right. You've got wingers coming to the other side. It's football without barriers. I'm going to ask this question to Sophie, because she's the one who's actually playing for a team at the moment. But the easiest thing as a coach, because I've done a little bit of coaching, is that the easiest thing is to make everyone have a very strict position. Bit like United played against Sevilla, very conservative. This is your role. You don't do this. You don't do that. What some of these attacking teams are doing around Europe and in the Premier League with Liverpool and City and Spurs is football without barriers. You're not just a right back. You might have to come into the middle to fill that role, and if he fills that, you go there. And it's risk as well. We spoke about this last night as well, Sophie. United, 6 chances in 3 home games. 6 good chances in 3 home games. That's shocking. Liverpool would probably have that in 10 minutes. But what people don't understand is, because they see it on Match of the Day, they see Liverpool and Salah scoring 4 or 5 goals in one game. If you actually watch Liverpool yesterday, 50% of what they try doesn't come off. It will go out, somebody will intercept it. But the reality is, it's football with risk. They're trying to take risks to break teams down. We don't take that risk. That's the problem with United. It's too conservative, and that is what he's got to try and address, and hopefully will. You play. How easy is it to change? How, in your opinion, you're coached obviously every week when you're not injured. What the coaching you get? What's more difficult? Is it to be more, this is your role, or is it the more fluid?
The more fluid, definitely. I mean, as you know, I play a holding midfielder, and quite often my coach will encourage me to push forward, and when I do that, he'll call the right back or the left back to tuck in for me. So it's kind of that fluidity, and the same going forwards as well. If at the end of the day, if you stick to your positions, you're going to be easy to mark for one. And teams, as you know, will part the bus against United, and then we struggle massively. And I noticed watching the game yesterday against Brighton, we pretty much got pinned in their half. They've got one player up front, who was Joe, I think it was. And then literally you've got McTominay and Matic coming to get the ball. We've still got 2 centre-backs, at least one of our full-backs. All in our half, when literally they've got one forward. We're all just sat there, just waiting for the ball, and I'm thinking, why aren't we pushing more numbers forward? Why aren't we being more fluid? And we're just making it easier for teams to play against us. If you look at City, for example, like I mentioned earlier, they're far more fluid. And the thing I like about City is the pressing as well. Yesterday, we let Brighton have the ball and literally just watched Brighton with the ball. Now, for me, and I know my coach says the same as well, why not try and win the ball back higher up the pitch, closer to their goal? That's what City do. Yeah, I'm sure if Pep has maybe a time limit of, say, 7 to 10 seconds, can we get that ball back in between 7 to 10 seconds? And you can see the second they lose it, they're trying to get it back, but we seem to sit off. And that makes us really easy to play against. I mean, Brighton yesterday, they created more chances. They looked more threatening, especially in that first half, when we were just letting them have the ball. Why aren't we pressing? I'm sure if we pressed them higher up the pitch, they would lose the ball. And we would create more chances from that, but we don't seem to do it.
I think the bottom line is, and hopefully Mourinho is trying to change it, but the reality is Mourinho is obsessed by tall, slow players. And compare us to Liverpool, City, Spurs, even Arsenal, Chelsea. Our team is ridiculously slow and lethargic. The energy levels, I bet if you did fitness tests of United against City, Spurs and all them lot, we'd be at the bottom. There's no urgency in our play. It's very slow. And in the modern game's moved on. I mean, I'm not going to go labour the point. I said it last week, and I'm doing the tactics show at 1 o'clock tomorrow. But I just feel Mourinho's coaching staff is past it. He's surrounded him with him for over a decade, and football's moved on. And I think he realises he's got to move on. Risk equals reward, says 100th Joe. Jude Dyke says, I manage a pub team just like Jose. Salah is the best right wing in the world at the moment, says Samuel Kuma. Wenger in. No, we're not that bad. Jose is a contradiction. Fellaini is awesome, says Connor Ellis. He's drunk. Last 5 years. Chuck us some questions. We've still got a few minutes left, so chuck us some questions and we'll throw them at difficult ones. I won't take, but the other two will. There was a I've just reminded me. There was a question from Bjorn a little bit earlier, Flex, for you actually. He said, you know, come on, stop sitting on the fence. Are you Mourinho in or out?
I'm still Mourinho in. I still want to see him get it right. I have questioned it over the last couple of weeks. Mark could tell you that I've been fuming at what's been going on. But he is getting to me very slightly. I need to see some change early on next year to see. I think if we have another year like this next year, my opinion could very much change. So thanks for putting me on the spot there. But I didn't sit on the fence, so there you go.
I think you've gone with the safe answer anyway. But there are a couple of people who've messaged me over the weekend saying, can I Skype in tomorrow night, because I've got some strong opinions about Mourinho. Couple out, couple in, so that could be very interesting tomorrow night.
What about Sophie? Why don't you ask her?
She's Mourinho in. I already know. Mourinho in, aren't you?
Ask her if she still is. Ask her if she still is after yesterday.
Sophie's just been very consistent. She's not like you, up and down. Like a fair weather fan. For the record, I'm obviously Mourinho and always have been. But what I would say as well is, I think a lot of people are still angry, and I agree with that. I'm angry. I am angry. I think everybody's angry. Doesn't mean you have to be as extreme as being out. If you are, that's your prerogative. But I think a lot of people are still very angry about Sevilla, and I don't blame them. But I actually have to say, from a personal point of view, he made a lot of mistakes in a lot of press conferences over the last week. He has. Some of the stuff I don't agree with, but for me, the best parts were some of the rant on Friday I didn't agree with, but I did like last night. I did like the fact that he basically told the fans that for 2 days I've tried to get him playing attacking, and as I said, obviously he's not been doing that for the last 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years, whatever, but that is still a step. You know, he's going to be here, and that is a step forward. It might be a tiny step, but it is a step, and we're just going to have to take it game by game. And the Man City game's the one. That's the one. That's the one where it's going to go like a scales and flip again. We're not going to do who's going to manage United if Jose leaves. I don't like that question. Will Jose ever embrace the heritage or Alex Ferguson's team, says Ted Lawyer. Again, I think we just have to wait and see. Will we... I don't know whether to ask that one. What do you think is that? Okay, Sophie, why do you think... What?
You answer.
You what?
Should I stitch
you said you're not sure whether you should answer that.
I'll answer it. It was about, is Fellaini going to be here next? Well, we'll all answer it then. Sophie, you can go first. Will Fellaini be here next season? Remember, everyone record this little section for next August.
No. I think if he wanted to sign a new deal, he would have done it by now. So no, I think he'll leave.
See, that appalls me that actually it's because Fellaini wants to go and not because the club's kicking him out. But it got a bit of a boo. We saw your vlog, Flex. It was a bit mixed. He got a bit of a boo yesterday. Do you think he'll be here next season?
No, I don't think he will, because I agree with Sophie. If he was going to sign, I think he would have signed already. He isn't. He's getting to the latter stages of his career. Probably got one more move left in him. He probably wants to play some football and be a regular first teamer. Hopefully, he's not going to be a regular first teamer with us, and that's what Jose is telling him, which you wouldn't put it past him not telling him that. But I think for that reason, I think he'll leave.
I just think, to wind me up, he will be here next season. I think I do, and maybe I'm using reverse psychology, but I do. The question I was going to ask Sophie from Joshua Data is, why do you think Sanchez is not performing? Do you think it's just simply down to tactics? Good question.
Very good question. For me, yeah, I think he needs to be more central. I do think he's trying too hard though. Whether it's the pressure of joining United, a bigger club, obviously, and I don't think the tactics are helping him. But I think at the same time he's trying a bit too hard. He's trying the wonder ball when he just needs to keep it simple. And I think he's got the ability; it will all just click into place. I don't have any doubts. I do think that he will find his feet eventually, though.
Tom says back the manager. Oh, all three of us are Mourinho in. We can only do so much. We're not, we're not dictators. You've got to make your own mind up. And the great thing about the live comments, another cracking show from everybody, is there's so many different opinions in there, and you're all entitled to your own. You don't ever be swayed by anybody. You're all entitled to your own. I'm looking at question. It's tactics with Sanchez is the problem, says Giesel Cesar. Can we win the league next season? Liam Richards says Flex. Again, record this bit and put it on a GIF later for next season and send it to Arsenal Fan TV so they can mock Flex when he says we're not going to win it. We are going to win it.
People are going to say I'm pessimistic, whatever, but I'm a realist, and I don't think we can win the league next year under Jose Mourinho.
There you go. Sophie?
I think not with the current style of football, no. But if Jose chooses to change and play we want to, I think we've got the players there. Hopefully he strengthens as well. So I think, yes, we could if the style of football changes.
I agree. I think if he continues what he's started in the last couple of days and there's a big summer, then you never know. You never know. But it would be very difficult. I would agree with Flex on that. It's going to be very, very difficult to do it. And I think we almost are starting again. Because I think Mourinho's suddenly realised this week he's not going to get away with what he's doing. And he's almost having to reinvent himself. And that's almost going to set us back a little bit. But I think it's going to be a very interesting summer. We've done the FA Cup draw. Not with Mourinho, says Quadu. And Samuel R. I like this question from Samuel R. Let's just do it very, very quickly. Why are you Mourinho in then, Flex? Despite all the negativity at the moment, you look at the facts. Sevilla was a disaster over 2 legs. The defensive football, it's never Mourinho's fault when clearly he has to take some blame. They're publicly having a go at players. What is it amongst all that? And I suppose it's to the Mourinho outers. They're probably going, "Why are you?" And I am as well. Why are you Mourinho in? It's just ridiculous.
You know what? It is by the smallest piece of string at the moment. I think he's just about got enough legacy in terms of winning wherever he's gone to still give me that little bit of ounce of optimism that he can turn it around. I think he's got probably one more year to prove that. If we finish way off the mark again or don't change the style of play, don't get a lot of deadwood out in the summer and get good attacking players in, robust midfielders with legs, then I think he's done. I think it could be the beginning of the end. So to answer your question, the reason why I think I'm still Jose in just, and I say just, I am only just, is because I think he's got just about enough legacy left before he enters into the Wenger thing of when you used to be good. That's what it is.
Apparently, we had United Stand had a tweet on BT Sport. Petter just said, if you can let us know what that tweet was, because they didn't bloody ask, and we'll get them shut down for copyright. No, seriously, I'd like to know what it was, because I know there are some tweets that go up that even make me cringe. So it'd be interested to know what that was, if anyone knows what it is. And Sophie, why are you Mourinho in?
For me, I just wanted to see him complete the 3-year rule. I want to see where he's going to go next year, to complete his process, as he calls it. Because I don't want us to start a game. I don't want us to fall further behind. And I'm hoping that his past success and everything he's achieved, the fact that he's a born winner, I'm hoping that that'll be enough to attract the players that he wants and to build an attacking United. That's what I want to see.
Sky Sports are talking about Mo Salah being on Messi's level. Just a little bit of a topical question there. Would Salah be your player of the year, Flex? Do you put him on that pedestal?
Yeah, if he was undecided before, even just the 4 goals he scored yesterday. Was it yesterday? Yeah, yesterday. If I'm honest, like I was just bantering with a friend. I was like, he needs drug testing. Some of the things he was doing yesterday, I was just like, he's unbelievable. It's kind of nice to know it's the only thing we can hang on to. The fact that he come to United, to Old Trafford and didn't do a thing. because he's just making everybody else look so silly. So that's the only thing we can be happy about, obviously, and the win as well. But where I was a little bit like, oh, it's tight between Kane and De Bruyne, and for De Bruyne, for his own high standards, I think he's maybe just dropped his standards slightly, which is because his standards are so high. He's still playing well, but for his own personal levels, probably dropped. Harry Kane's obviously got an injury now, so I think Salah will just pretty much make that his own now and score even more goals.
Is he your player of the year, Soph?
Yeah, 100% mine. I just think the fact that he's not only scoring goals, but every time he gets the ball, he makes something happen. Obviously, he didn't against us. Credit to Ashley. But other than that, just everything. He seems to be everywhere on the pitch. His positioning, he always seems to be in the right place. So not only for the goals that he scored, but he just seems to assist so many as well. And yeah, I just think he's been fantastic.
I've got a question. I've got a question quickly for both of you. Who, if you could sign one player out of those two, out of these three, De Bruyne, Salah, or Kane, who would you sign? And I'm not answering it. I'm just asking you two.
Well, Mark.
It sort of answers my question. De Bruyne is player of the year for me anyway, so it would be De Bruyne. I'm old enough to remember Kevin Phillips scoring a lot of goals, so one season of goals doesn't make you bloody Messi. And two, he ain't going to be my player of the year, because if you get put in the pocket by Ashley Young for 90 minutes, you've just destroyed your reputation. So De Bruyne for me.
Okay, so?
I rate De Bruyne. I think he's awesome. I think if you've got to choose one, I think what we're more in need for is a wide player, though, so I'm going to say Salah. So I think we need more players who are going to beat a man, and Salah's got more of what we need at the moment.
I saw a great question. I'm just going to chuck this out because I think it was so good. I can't remember who said it, but it was where we are now. You know, forget what people are going to say. On your heart, honesty. If you were offered Pep Guardiola as Manchester United manager tomorrow, would you take him? Flex.
Sophie. Yes. Oh.
That, I hope someone's clipped that and they're going to play that. Traitor. Sophie.
I think if you're judging on current style of play and the way, if you're comparing City and United at the moment, you'd have to say yes, wouldn't you, really? They're top of the league for a reason. I think you'd have to.
See, absolutely not for me. No. I mean, I've only just come round to saying he's not a bad manager and they deserve the league. I'm not about to give him the United job. No, I wouldn't take him at United. I think it's a sadistic stubbornness in me that I want Mourinho to succeed, and I think he can. And I know actually you two are going to get the majority on this. And you know, why wouldn't you take that manager? He's got an idea. If he comes to United, you know he's going to start playing a certain brand of football that's entertaining. You know he's probably going to win you the title. But I still stubbornly would say no, because he's a Man City manager as well. But you know, I know. I can see even see it in the live comments. It's obvious any day. So you know what? But it's too much for me in Tuchel. I ain't blowing that much up his arse. You know, to be honest, it's. I've already said he's not Fraudiola anymore. He should be happy with that. But no, I can understand why people are. But not for me. Although Wazza says Pep's a coward. I don't know what that's got to do with his footballing ability, but maybe he knows him. I don't know.
Because they argue he took the easier job going to City, when obviously there are tougher jobs out there for him to prove himself, and people feel that he took the easier option going to Man City.
I'd love to see. I don't think he'll ever do it, because I think he just, you know, he likes easier projects. But I think it is a shame. I do think it is a shame that he won't go and take a job. You know, it doesn't have to be like Stoke. I mean, Arsenal. Just take Arsenal's job. You know.
You know what? I just think I know what you're saying about this open checkbook, and people might criticise me for saying this. Of course, I don't support Man City, but like I said, in my opinion, this is just how I see it. I think he's managed to keep reinventing sides. Like when he left Barcelona and went to Bayern Munich, he didn't bring Messi with him and Iniesta and Xavi. He went again. I know he inherited a couple of good players there, but he still had to turn them into another good team. When he left Bayern Munich and went to Man City, he didn't bring Lewandowski or Robben or Ribéry or any of them players, and Thiago. He didn't bring those guys. And again, I know he's inherited other players, but he's also made the players there a lot better. Look at the coaching. Look at the way they play. He's got Fabian Delph playing left back. Fabian Delph, a failed centre midfielder from Leeds and Villa, and turn him into a left back. Otamendi, poor last season. I don't want to keep blowing too much smoke up his ass, but that's just why I think he's a good manager, in my opinion.
you can find Flex next season on Man City TV. Anyway, John Gaff says, I'm a Chelsea fan. It's very similar to Chelsea with Mourinho. James Moore says, I think Valencia was just as bad as Shaw yesterday. We did Turbo Warrior. Lucas Taylor, a leopard never changes its stripes, and Jose definitely won't. Josh E says, hated, adored, never ignored, 100% backing Mourinho. Tariq said, why you guys Jose in before saying anything truth, which we answered. And I wouldn't take Pep, says Biosphere. Joachim Low is the one for me. Anyway, we've overrun a little bit tonight. That means it was a good show. We absolutely whizzed through it. So if you are new, make sure you subscribe to the channel, bottom right-hand corner. Tomorrow night at 8 o'clock, we have got the Skype show where you can call in. There's been lots and lots discussed today, tonight, and who knows what other stuff there'll be to discuss. You might have stuff parks from the weekend, but do call in, have your say. I really enjoy that on a Monday night at 8 o'clock. Please do drop a like. It's been a really good show, both from the live comments and the guests. Thanks for coming on, Sophie.
Thanks for having me on. I've really enjoyed it.
It has. It's been good. It's a good laugh.
Stitched up a few times, but yeah, it's been good.
It's never scripted on the United Stand. It's never scripted. Never has been. And thanks for coming on, Flex.
Yeah, thanks for throwing me pelters. Cheers.
It's all right. I've got it all on record. They've got some international break as well. Yeah. I've got it all ready on Twitter. Yeah. Look at this idiot United fan saying that he'd get rid of... Yeah. No, I wouldn't do that. Somebody will. Thick-skinned, you see.
What I think if you ask me, I'll give you my honest opinion.
Exactly, and that's what United Stand's all about, and everyone in the live comments does it as well. So I am going to do a show at 1 o'clock tomorrow. Just a very quick one about the tactics side of things from the weekends, but the big show tomorrow is obviously 8 o'clock for the Skype show. I've got lots and lots of things planned. I know it's an international break, so no game for 2 weeks, but this is a big international break. When you've done a few like we have, there is lots of things that are going to happen. So keep getting involved. We're live every night at 8 o'clock. And thanks everybody for watching. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And thanks for joining us tonight. I'll speak to you all soon. Good show. Good show. That was good.
Yeah, that was well.
Good.
That was good, man.
It overrun a little bit, but lots of good questions.